going from offline to online, especially coming from an offline business, is acceptance. Acceptance that there is something that needs to be done and it's urgent enough to spend money on it. So, but before, I would like to ask a bit about you guys, the audience, to know how many of you actually come from an offline retailer? Can I have a raise of hand? Okay. How about if you are working for, your client are offline retailers? Okay. Okay. So the biggest issue is usually justification, about acceptance that there's something need to change. How the digital era is here to stay, how it will impact your business, and how it will change the way you interact with your customer. So with that, I would like to ask Pak Denny some ideas on that.
Yeah, since our business since 26 years ago, we are developing as mall operators, Plaza Indonesia, FX, and then Beach Walk in Bali, and the latest is the new mall in Bandung, 23 Pascal, 23 Pascal. You must hear about it. So since we are the mall operator, and then we also manage so many retailers, we are now very busy how we have to embrace the change. I mean, since the shopping online is get into the market, we have to accept that now the market is changing, and the customers is now not only changing, but they also shifting. Mostly our customer is shifting their shopping habits, not only shopping now, but they also need just, we have to more creating impulse buying, because now even shopping now change into traveling more, and then they don't want to buy much, even they just go for hangouts, F&B, something like that. So that's why mostly retailers are now turning down. So that's why what we have try to encourage them to develop experience more, like we have seen from the video, watch from video, and then we have to create more something products that more to the apparels, like fashion, something like that, because they like to buy cheap things, but in well, you know, and then we have to create more experience via digital campaign. Like you have to develop more about the brand story that sometimes that people now not accepting a campaign traditional like we have to accept like a few years ago. So brand story, create an experience, that's the more important thing.
Well, certainly coming from the online side, we have been asked a few times, I've been asked a few times to tell the story about the impact of e-commerce. In Indonesia, my corner, and mostly our corner of the world, people say that the impact to offline, from the online business right now, online business own 2% of the retail in Indonesia. I see a lot of head nodding. But as you can see, actually the 2% is just the tip of the iceberg. It's not 2% if you happen to be a taxi. In taxi, 60% of the business is now online using ride sharing. Right? If you happen to be on airline ticket sales per person, your impact to your business is about 40%. That's a significant impact. Poor all those travel agents out there. And I also tried to do a little bit interpolation, although this is very rough interpolation, on fashion, which is the #1 category online. They surveyed out of everybody that have shopped online, 70% have bought something fashion related, fashion and apparel related. That impact over there, is probably about 8% in Indonesia, 8 to 10. Just to put into perspective, in the US, 8.5% of retail is online. I think 13% in China, but 18% over in the US is of the fashion is purchased online. So you can see the impact of fashion, especially probably one of the biggest item in a mall, is huge. Yeah.
Even now, it's only 1% from the total transactions in our mall. Yeah, I think retail is still number one. If we do, well, you know, I think retail is in Indonesia. What happened now is because of only 1%, and the biggest one is for the transportation and for the traveling. So I think there is still a big opportunity for Indonesian, our retailer, local retailer mostly, to adapt very easy, because just by creating more experience, like some of our retailers do now, I think, since what happened now in Indonesia, different with China compared to China. In Indonesia, online shopping is only the way how you purchase. It's not yet a lifestyle. But in China, or even maybe in Thailand, I don't know, it's become a lifestyle. Yeah.
But okay, Albert,
Okay.
what do you think? What have you seen in Matahari store about the transport, and what changes, what pain point forces the management to commit to this?
Allow me to reintroduce myself. Why Donald asked me about Matahari while I'm working in RPX. I was contacted from IRX when I was in Matahari, and when I was there, becoming a head of campaign and creative for dedicated MatahariStore.com, which is the online version of Matahari department store. As we know that Matahari department store is their market share is 42.8% in retail, offline retail in Indonesia. Can you imagine 42.8? But it's huge. But sadly to say that the online contribution is very, very low. You name it. As we can see in Indonesia, we have so many e-commerce players. The biggest one, some from Thailand, owned by Rocket and something. But what I'm trying to say is the most difficult part is to accept the trends. Currently, the trend is like we already saw in the videos, it's all digital. But what we have to accept, that's the trend. And after we accept the trends, thankfully all the management, including my company now in RPX Group, we already accept. We know the era. This is digital era, and then number one, the top management, we have to accept the situation. Not only the management, also the team as well, the internal team, because it's not enough when your founders already say, okay, Albert, you have to do this, and this. But my team, no man. 10 years ago when I did this, it's successful. I have to go to this offline venue, offline bazaar and something. But the situation is different. So by looking this situation, I told to the management, we have to create dedicated team to manage the e-commerce part. But the hardest part is to convince our management. After we accept, we have to convince them. Why? Because like Pak Donald said, online retail, especially in fashion, it's only like 1 or 2% of our total business. And the cost to build the team, it's very, very expensive to hire Mr. Bhavin here, right? Because the e-commerce talent is very, very rare in Jakarta, in Indonesia. Not easy to find. And when we already find them, the cost is very, very expensive. So that's the hardest part to accept, and after that to adapt. I think number one is we have to accept first. Adapt, and which means we have to create a strategy, like do the creative marketing, creative product. Say for RPX currently, we are now the best in high value delivery. Say we can deliver your gold, your obligation or something, but we are, quote unquote, we are very poor in delivering fashion products. How come we can deliver the gold to your house, but I can't deliver my one single jacket to your home? Because my current team, they treat, I have to deliver only one piece of this one, comparing the high value items. So speaking of this situation, acceptance is very important for all the stakeholders, not only the founders, but the people, and also the strategy and the products itself. As you can see, perhaps like the products, like I'm wearing smartwatch, not a digital watch. Lastly, we can see, okay, this is analog watch, this is digital, but now smartwatch. Not only Apple and Samsung, but this is, say, like a Tag Heuer or something. They already.
What's the one pain point that make Matahari store pull the trigger?
The painful part is when you running a business on a consignment basis, and in Matahari we have two different products. One is our in-house brand, and the second one, as a retailer, we manage also the consignment brands, the suppliers. So we manage multiple suppliers, more than 300 brands in Matahari, and they all have different SKU naming, different, in online you have to have the similarity with the same taxonomy. So back when I'm in Matahari, we have to translate their own SKU. Even worse, for the traditional suppliers, they don't know the name about their own products. In offline, when you have blue jackets and blue dot jackets, for them it's the same. But in online, it's different. You have to have different photos, different SKU name, and then you have to put it in the script.
Okay.
Something like that.
Now you mentioned a bit about strategy, so I'd like to ask Mr. Chula here. You are serving the retailer client, and what's the popular strategy that you've been proposing to your client?
Okay. So basically, before answer your questions, just to be clear about like what I'm doing. So basically, Infobip we provide a mobile communication service via Omnichannels to companies such as like retails, banks, different vertical of industry, who send some kind of like a communication message to ensure, segment notifications to the end users, which help them to increase sales, interactions, customer engagement, and experience. This is basically what I'm doing. So basically, I've been working with retails and those companies like above 100. So I can see like kind of different pain points, needs, and strategies in different vertical. But come back to retail, especially traditional one. The strategies I would agree with you as well. Like accept is it is not easy because like let's say you manage to convince your management to accept it, but how you adapt to your team, like your infrastructures, the way of doing business needs to change as well. So I would say the strategies have to come from the fundamentals of the leadership, policies, role definition, and structures that support the process and organized structures digitization. This has to be fundamental of the digitalized cultures of the company first. So this is the first thing. If you don't manage to do this one, people is just going to be divided to one team from digitals and another teams remain like traditional one.
How about what kind of strategy have some of your offline clients have tried and successfully or unsuccessfully in linking offline and online?
Good questions. I would come with like success story first. I'm sure I would like to mention one name. Hopefully it's not from that company. Everybody knows Starbucks, right? Starbucks. Why you go to Starbucks? It's not only branding, but you like some kind of atmosphere. You like something that physical provide, right? Smell, taste, something that cannot replicate with the online. But how they want to expand, let's say, the revenue sharing, or apply the strategies of digitalization. So basically, the success case is basically Starbucks. They have social medias at the advertisement channels. They have SMS for some kind of in between, for people who not really go, social media. So they send, let's say, like direct SMS with the unique link, the landing page. When you click the landing page, it asks you to vote whether you like Americanos or you like smoothies. After you vote, it's basically acquire your customer preference, And after that, when you voted, it redirects you to fill out your name, your last name, and phone number, right? This is really identify people on socials and really in realities, not yet. They also ask you to put like 3 reference number of your friends. And when you click submitted, it will send you the SMS again with the unique link that you can present to the Starbucks store and redeem to get buy one, get one free. So you can see for the whole process is really, deliver to the right channels, to the end users, and really acquire personal information. Not only that, refer to your friends and bring them to the store to increase the sales.
So you get to know really well who is your customer.
Exactly the whole process.
Preferably what kind of stuff they actually drink.
Correct. This is the success story that I can see, like, sales revenues growth tremendously.
Bhavin, we haven't got quite to you yet. Reserve you for the Omnichannel strategy one with your partner.
So I'm going to try wrapping all of this up because you guys spoke about so much. So I'm going to take it back a bit. So I've been doing Omnichannel for about 10 years, originally in the UK. Been doing global roles for Marks and Spencer's, Burberry, Tesco, L'Oreal, and now I've decided to do a market role, which is in Indonesia. So I'm going to talk a little bit about leadership. So I know you guys hate management. Unfortunately, I'm one of them. So in regards to a management and leadership proposition, I agree, yes, the direction needs to come from the leadership, but there's also different talents in different markets that we need to be aware of, right? So when I look at omnichannel, offline, online, if I take it core route to a business, a lot of businesses in Southeast Asia are still, merchandising per channel, buying per channel, building content strategies per channel, have KPIs per channel. They don't have omni-channel directors. They have COOs, CFOs, brand directors, merchandising directors, buying directors. So who makes the decision? You need somebody to sit there and say, well, if I'm going to buy for offline, then it needs to have the same impact online, right? If I have stock availability, it needs to be a unified stock availability. So something we're doing in Kanmo, without giving away too much, is this year it's very much, for me, omnichannel means a unified customer database. And what I mean by that is you need to understand your customer across all channels. And you need to be able to talk to them personally across channels, not use the same. So I knew, actually before this panel group, the panel group earlier was saying, there's still people not being personalized across multiple channels. There's annoyance of noise coming to people's platforms. And that's purely because if I look at Indonesia, I'm not going to name it, but I know some of the colleagues are here, my ex-colleagues are here. But we did this 4 years in Tesco, in Thailand. So when we launched the Tesco Thailand business, consumers liked to receive information and digital, even though it was offline. Tesco's been in Thailand for a long time. It's a strong offline business, over 2,000 store formats. When e-commerce came in, it's not always the business that needs to accept it, it's also customers. And at that point, customers were not ready to accept e-commerce. There was issues with online card payments. There was issues with traffic. There was issue with refrigerators not working in our vans to be able to deliver in a really hot country. You know, how do you deal with stuff like that? You're stuck for 3 hours and your frozen isn't frozen. Your makeup melts. Right? What do you do with it? If you put it in a freezer, then your makeup is really hard and the lipstick don't work. So you know, there's multiple different ways of looking at it. You know, years on now, you know, one thing we're trying to focus on is, I'd say by the end of this year, across some of our brands. So Kanmo has, you know, we do Mothercare, Coach, Louis Vuitton. We have over 70 brands. We're going to be looking at how to identify the online customer offline. Not the other way around. Everyone's identifying offline customers online right now. We want to do it the other way around. And that's going to be simple. I'm not going to give away the company or the technology. But what we're looking at is when you walk into a store, and this also goes down to salespeople. So you have to also train your operational staff. This is not just head office. So when you walk into a store and the sales staff says, have you ever shopped with us before? Simple question. Yes or no? Whether it's, have you ever registered with us before? Have you ever attended an event? Have you ever attended a fashion event for Karen Millen? And then once you've walked in, if they give you your email address, you'll be able to see their online history all offline. Now where this becomes very interesting is we're also working with the pure play online retailers. So as a retailer that has so many brands, we sell our brands on pure play as well. And we shouldn't forget that because that's also another platform that people are buying from. And we want to pull them in, but we want them to be in our ecosystem. That's why I'm going back to unified customers. And we work with Lazada, we work with the malls. I think these guys already know we're quite screwed in the way we do things. We ask for every information for every customer that walks into that mall. And you know, to really drive that customer back into that mall, it's really understanding the consumers. So I think you know, Jakarta is interesting. You know, having done all the other Southeast Asian markets, it's slightly different. You've got a lot of players like Tokopedia, that's challenging the offline retailers like us. But if we become omnichannel, we already know that they're 4 times more likely to have a higher ATV and a higher ATV.
4 times more likely.
4 times. If I'm not, so if my average basket was £150 for Mothercare, with 7 items, and that's only 1 shop online, and if I look at my average spend on offline, it's 8 million, but it's only 1 product because it's a stroller. If you add the 2 together, you get 14 products per person who actually buys both offline and online. So I think what needs to adapt, because we're talking about malls, is some of the retailers in Indonesia are actually really moving really fast. Matahari malls, Kanmo retail groups, the MAPs, the Starbucks, we're all like competitors, but we're all doing retail. There's only 3-4 big retailers in the whole of Indonesia. You have 147 malls. This year it's 171. Kanmo, huh? Kanmo's in every single one of them. That's right.
Gotta know your number.
Yeah, you know, so Kanmo's in every single one of them, and we need collection points. We need collection lockers. We're finding that if we're on the 7th floor, you know, a bit like Sephora is okay because they're all on the ground floor. the fashion retailers are all on the top floor. Yeah. So if you want to carry something or you want to move something, you gotta, you know, you need lockers. You need to how are you going to start gaining that traction? How are you going to do shipment from stores, shipment from malls, work with Gojek? So exciting time.
Yeah. Sorry, I've been flagged that our time is up. So there's so much more they can share. I've talked to them each individually, and they have a lot of ideas that didn't quite fit into this format. So as before, as the panelists before, if you are interested, grab them. But I hope to keep in mind that if you know your customer online, you can bring 4 times more business to them offline. And that should be enough to motivate your management to do what it takes to bring online and offline together into an omni-channel as soon as possible before your competitor does it. Thank you very much.
Thank you all, gentlemen, for this very interesting session. If any guest speaker would like to ask some inquiries or other questions, would you please kindly contact him directly or at the